Hi, singers. Today's talk is how to handle stress because it's turning into that time of the semester, and I know a lot of you are like me and you're experiencing stress. So, my first tip today is make sure you schedule everything. Have a clear plan of what you're doing. Because I know for me, when I get stressed out, a lot of times it feels like there's all these different things I have to do that are kind of spinning around through my head, but I can't remember exactly when I had to do that or what had to go on. So make sure you keep a calendar maybe or a planner book and write down everything you have to do. And a lot of times it helps me to feel better when I do that because I realize it actually isn't as bad as I thought. I don't actually have to do as much. So that's the first tip. Second tip I'd say is make sure that you're getting enough exercise, especially like cardio exercise. I recommend maybe exercising about 20 minutes a day, probably 4 to 5 days a week. That course doesn't have to be 4 or 5 consecutive days. It could be, once on the weekend, a couple times on the weekend, other times during the week. But you want to make sure that you keep active because the more you exercise, it actually creates natural endorphins and makes you feel better. So that's another good tip. Another thing that you might want to do is plan something fun. That's what I like to try to do. Always make sure to keep something amusing in your life because otherwise it's just going to be like one assignment or one project after another and it's going to get kind of a drag. So make sure you always have something good to look forward to, and that's going to make your whole outlook overall be better. Next one is something that you don't want to do when you're stressed out. Make sure you don't binge eat because that's not going to help you at all. I mean, at the moment it might feel really good to eat a whole box of cookies because you're really stressed out, but afterwards you're going to feel really bad about yourself and feel like a pig, and then overall it's not going to help your general outlook on life. Another one is if worse comes to worse and you're feeling too stressed out, you sometimes might have to back off on commitments. Maybe you can't do that club that you thought you could. Maybe just this week you won't go to that meeting. Little things like that. If you back off, sometimes you have to consider your overall health and your overall mental and emotional wellness over different commitments that you have. So sometimes, even though we don't like to say no to things, sometimes you have to just for your own good. And finally, I'd say just make sure when you're stressed out that you consider the whole picture. I know it's hard sometimes to get out of that cycle of just thinking day to day and the little tiny things that we have to do. But if you could really change your outlook on life to think of the big picture, why am I actually doing this? What is this good for? Sometimes you might realize that little commitments that you have might not actually be as big of a deal as you thought. So keep a positive outlook. Good luck, and I'll see you in rehearsal. Bye.